Hey everyone, this is Luca from Actually Agents, and we're happy to bring you another edition of our weekly real estate agent mastermind. Our masterminds are an open forum for community members to talk and collaborate on ways to improve their business. You never know who will show up. They're always different, but always awesome. We host them live in our free Discord server, which you can join using the link below. So sit back and enjoy.
Glenn Sanford is here too. Glenn, now you get to see from the audience perspective. Raise the hand and come on up here, bud. We'll wait for people to filter in.
Hey, Lucas.
Hey,
How's it
Glenn. How you doing?
Good. I'm just out on a walk here. Thanks for the invite in.
Yeah, no problem, man. Always a fun time to get the CEO of a national brokerage on stage unexpectedly.
Yeah, thanks for dropping into my stage yesterday.
Yeah, no problem, man. And everybody in the audience, sorry, I got to do the intro. Welcome to another edition of our weekly real estate agent mastermind. This is an open forum for anyone to come up on stage, share a win, share a problem in your business. Maybe you want to do something new in your marketing. Maybe you're struggling somewhere. Our ears are open and we will help you to the best of our ability. And unexpectedly, our guest tonight is Glenn Sanford. He's the CEO / founder of EXP Realty and also the CEO of Success Magazine. And they just started a Discord server too.
We did. Yeah, we kicked it off a couple weeks ago. We're growing the base, and we're even next year. I think we're going to be building out a big server for EXP Realty as well.
Wonderful, man. I just switched my desktop. Can you all hear me all right?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks. So, Glenn, if I can put you in the hot seat for a moment here, and first off, Ryan, go make an announcement and at Real Estate Mastery and the real estate agents, and tell them that Glenn Sanford's here.
Got it.
If you would be so kind. So, Glenn, in your position, what are you guys seeing with the real estate market?
It's a challenging market right now. I did three podcasts today with agents in different parts. Actually, today was all in Canada, but the market's definitely tough. So there's not a lot of transactions compared to what agents are normally used to. So and that's pretty much across the board. I mean, we're certainly saw Q3 numbers. We published those. Even though the company grew agent count 30%, revenues weren't up that much, and so I suspect Q4 is going to be challenging for us and agents in general, and then of course next year we saw numbers come in from Redfin, and we saw it come in from a number of other brokers. I don't know if Compass reported yet, but numbers are it's companies are getting hammered. That's because the agents aren't doing as many deals out there.
So I'm seeing a couple stats, like a lot of brokerages are doing layoffs. You think EXP is immune to that, or?
We're shifting a little slower than the rest because we fortunately are growing faster than anybody else, and so that mitigates some of the slowdown. But we've had to cut some costs back, but not as dramatically as the rest of the industry, just because we started trimming back actually, or we put pretty much a hiring freeze starting in about March this year, and of course our agents have still grown since then, so that's kind of offset our need to do mass layoffs.
Awesome. And in your opinion, what should real estate agents be doing right now to prepare for the current market and potentially if it goes down even further?
I think the big thing is to figure out what your lead generation systems, especially your organic lead gen systems, are. Ways to generate leads where you don't have to spend money is going to be really key. Because if your income gets hurt, you may be having to figure out how do you generate that next lead. So figuring out what are those strategies that you're putting in place where it doesn't take dollars out of your pocket, especially if you're an agent that doesn't have a lot of money to invest in their business right now. I think making sure that you're focusing on ways to do that type of lead gen. I mean, it could be. I was on your server yesterday, and just somebody was talking about door knocking. I mean, and door knocking obviously is a great way because one, all it takes is your time and your effort. But make sure that you're watching what your cost per lead is. Your cost per closing is going to go up in the short run because it's going to take more leads to actually close a transaction. But figuring out how to have 2 to 3 times the number of contacts in order to get the same type of deal flow is going to be key if you want to keep your income at least in the same range. And some people are going to go through this. They're going to figure out niches that other people haven't went after yet, and so they're going to be able to get a disproportionate share of the market. But for the most part, it's just make sure you're watching your costs and leverage what truly is working in your business.
Great answer. And exactly what we preach here in the Discord, aside from when I'm shilling our lead gen program. We got a couple people up on stage. John, Kyle, Andrew, welcome. Lauren, welcome.
I got a question. So you say you're starting, you guys' own Discord or whatever. What brought you, to want to do that? And do you see the industry shifting towards communities like this?
So I'm wired a little bit differently than most. I've been building or involved with online communities since the 80s. So I was a sysop at bulletin boards. I worked for AOL at one point. I built the largest online service in Western Canada before I got in real estate called Interactive Cafe. So a lot of this stuff for me is it clicks. Where I think the other pieces that I see, and we're a big user of Workplace by Facebook over on the eXp Realty side, but Workplace is not getting any cheaper on a per user basis. We're at a run rate where next year on Workplace we'll spend probably close to $2 million on the platform, and so we're also looking at how can we optimize the cost to actually run our community, and our agents are uniquely different in that they're also our shareholders, and so cutting costs in order to make sure that we can maintain a level of service, especially in a slower market, makes a lot of sense. But then the Discord community is actually really cool. I mean, we got a server 2 years ago when we bought Success Magazine and played with it a bit. We went in a different direction. We went with a platform called Mighty Networks, and so that's what we did on the Success side. But now that we're really getting into Discord on the Success side, it's becoming quite obvious that Discord could be a differentiator. Like if you think about running your real estate teams, or you're doing expansion on Discord, like building your expansion teams, and then building out community with your consumers, and then figuring out all the different. I think the opportunity to use Discord is pretty amazing for agents to build their businesses.
Yeah, I love that.
Could you expand on that a little bit? Because I think for a lot of agents, when they join a platform like Discord and they come in through either a coaching program or a brokerage, let's say, I know you said EXP is going to start a Discord. Do you think there's value on top of the networking and the community that these servers offer? like as a way for agents to actually get business?
Yeah, for sure. You know, if you've got like let's just say you've got a WordPress based IDX. So, you know, like Showcase IDX, or you're using the KV Core plugin. I'm not sure what other ones you can build, but if right alongside your IDX you have a, you know, join us in for whatever your town is, you know, USA, a Discord server. When people are searching your website, you're going to be able to build a more intimate connection with your consumers. So, from my perspective, I'm walking right now. You hear I'm in the background, but so the way I think about it is that anytime you can bring your community together, when I built my personal real estate career, I used a platform, and you have to be pretty geeky to remember this platform, but it was called PHP Website. And so this was 2000. Actually, I started using it in 99, 2000. But it basically was a web-based version of Discord. I built birchbay.net, blaine.net, ferndale.net, linden.net, bellingham.net, all of the communities I built out websites for, and then basically became the community portal for each of those cities. So I was able to scale my real estate team to, you know, pretty sizable. I was the top 50 nationally with Keller my fourth year in the business, basically leveraging both a community strategy combined with a sort of SEO and organic lead gen strategy, and some PPC, and we were able to leverage that strategy into 6 cities around the country. So I see Discord as being something that's super easy to set up, like virtually, you know, it's like a caveman could set up a Discord server, and and you could then start to think about, how do I build my community in here? How do I invite businesses in here? How do I get sponsorships in here? How do I do something more than just real estate? Because I think if you just keep it to real estate, you're probably limiting your opportunity to really build a local community. But I think the opportunity to build something pretty significant that could drive your future real estate business in a meaningful way, I think it's right there, right in front of us.
Yeah. And I agree with you, partly that Discord, guys, super easy to set up a server. Now, if you want to add like the automations and stuff, then it gets heavy. But the important thing here, and this is something I've been preaching for forever, Glenn, not with just Discord, but even back when Facebook groups were the quote unquote meta, but digital farms. If you can be the person in your market or your area who can create a Discord server, like we've created this Discord server here, and gather people in your local area and figure out the value proposition. Because at the end of the day, any lead gen is exchanging value for contact information, right? So figure out what value your server can provide to draw people in, give them a reason to come back, and then there's your potential lead gen on lock. So, and anyone, and I encourage everybody to go do it. Start a Discord server. If you've been here, and I'm sorry to get a little preachy now, but I told you this last night, Glenn, when I came over your stage, that I feel almost vindicated. Because if you've been here for the past 2 years, I've been telling you guys, like, be active here on the Discord, learn how to use it, right? Because in 2 years, 1 year, now it seems like 2 months, every single organization in our industry is going to be starting a server of some time. And you could either be learning from zero or you could already have an edge on it. I mean, Facebook, we spoke about this last night, Glenn. Facebook groups are oversaturated, right?
Yeah, they're totally oversaturated. I mean, and it's hard to stand out there. It's I think most of the existing platforms, it's relatively hard to stand out. So whether it be you're starting your YouTube strategy today, you know, it's a heavy lift, because you got to, you know, cut through all the people who've come before you, Instagram, TikTok, what have you. I think Discord's the one that right now I haven't seen anybody using Discord. But if you think about the younger demographic coming up, which, you know, probably a bunch of represented in this room, you know, they're spending most of their time in Discord. Who's our future home buyer, or seller or influencer? I mean, they're going to talk about the cool agent in their area that is doing some engagement, first time home buyer seminars, whatever you can think about. You can do it on a Discord server. You don't have to do it in real life. And a lot of people don't really want to go and do IRL type stuff. They want to do it online and build a relationship there first.
Yeah, 100%. I almost liken it to like how people rebelled against TikTok initially because the demographics didn't seem suitable for growing a following on this platform because I wouldn't get any business out of it. But I would say that, yeah, though there's a younger demographic on Discord, there are people in the home buying range now. And we see people all the time because we trend on discovery, the way that you find servers on Discord. And we see people coming in here all the time who are 17, 16, 18, and they want advice, right? And how do I buy, how do I get into real estate, what can I do to generate passive income, where should I be learning, right? And it's very easy to be dismissive of these people because there's no short-term opportunity. But if you can be the guy who says, hey, I have my own server where I give advice, or I post a market newsletter on this server every day, and we're building a community to educate people. You're not going to see that pay off immediately, but if you're in this business for life, you're going to start seeing it pay off in 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. That's where I think you have to figure out maybe a bigger mission for what your Discord server is. Like if you can, like, let's say that you start like homeowners associations. I'll just use that for example. Let's building out their community. If you can, if you've got a community for a city, you could go to all the homeowners, and say, hey, can I host your neighborhood or your homeowners association on our server? That might be a way to have the conversation. Maybe you don't want to go straight there. Maybe you want to build up some other content so that your server becomes valuable. We're right now we're working on for Success magazine. We're going to do some shirts, and we're going to actually have the QR code to our Success magazine server on the t-shirts. So come join me at Success. And then people will scan it and they'll come into our Discord server. So think about, could you do some cool things like put the QR code on your automobile wrap or what have you. So there's tons of ways that you can sort of think about, bringing people in, and people like doing novel stuff when it's novel. Right now, Facebook groups are not novel, so nobody's going to enjoy it. Nobody's going to think of you as a leader for starting yet another Facebook group for them to join. But Discord's novel for 98% of the population, and so you're going to get their attention as an innovator, as somebody who's doing something different, and then figure out what your creative marketing strategies are, and even things like learn more about this home, scan this QR code. Maybe it brings them into a particular group on Discord that has information on that property, and then you can sort of start a chat with people that way. I mean, there could be all kinds of different ways that you can think about leveraging this.
Yeah, you actually gave me a couple ideas right there. And I'm not going to get into esoteric with roles and permissions and stuff, but just putting the QR code on your marketing and branding, and then crafting your server so that in order to participate, you have a data collection portal. So for everybody here listening, we have a data collection portal in this Discord, 2 different ways. If you want to get here through the Instagram page, I need your data. So I get your email, I get your full name, and that's about it. If you want to get verified access to the off-market chats, I need your business card. That's your name, your phone number, your email. And you can have this translate into hosting home buyer seminars on Discord, or like Glenn said, gathering homeowners associations up and letting them, have their own board or forum in your Discord, and you're just the one controlling the farm, so to speak. So I think I think that's great advice, Glenn. And I don't want to monopolize.
Yeah, and this is all the stuff I did. This is a playbook I did when I was running my teams back in the early 2000s. So that's why I kind of liken it too. It's got that same feel. By the way, I did it back then. Very few agents even copied what I was doing back then. But for me, the results were extraordinary. So I don't expect that there's going to be a lot of people that do this at a high level. But the ones that really commit to it, they could really have a disproportionate advantage in their marketplace over time.
Oh, well, yeah, it's the first mover advantage. I said this on a mastermind 2 or 3 weeks ago, that there was a realtor in my town who's still practicing, who 9 or 10 years ago was the first real estate agent to post about why they love, X being the name of our town. And it still is the number one trending video on YouTube, just because it's so seasoned with so many engagements now. And she still gets business from that video 10 years later. And I know another real estate agent in my market who was the first one to start a community group for my community. That one has about 13,000 people in it. And then every other insurance broker or mortgage lender who got the idea of starting a digital farm, all their groups have maybe like 300-400 people. Because to your point, the novelty wore off, right? They weren't the first.
Yeah, the first obviously has its advantages because you got the momentum, you got the people there already. Do they need to and to go join another one if they've already got the content they're looking for and the engagement they look for? Which is it's kind of like EXP has a first mover's advantage in sort of building cloud-based brokers. A lot of our agents are getting recruited by the next new model, but they're not going to move because they're already at a great model. It's like, why do they want to maybe whatever that extra ingredient is? It's not big enough to make them move. And so it's that first mover makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I don't want to monopolize you all to myself. Anyone on stage here? I'll open it up. What's up, Ragusa?
Hey, I want to ask Glenn a question. Glenn, I am actually in the process of making a move to EXP right now to do some collaborations with the Gold Bar team. And I'm just curious to know, what's the future for the company looking like? Anything new and exciting coming down the pipe that we shall be known?
I think the international expansion is the thing that's really cool. If you think about it, even from a purely economic perspective, how would you like to be able to write off your international trips as a tax deduction? Obviously, you have to work it past your accountant, but if you're going and you're visiting with agents in other parts of the world, you can turn your what would have normally been an expense. Well, it is an expense, but you get to think about it from that perspective. So I like the international piece. Because we're one large national brokerage, we're forming some really cool relationships with some national players that no one else is able to do because they're either a franchise or they're too small or what have you. So our footprint's going to create a lot of cool advantages. And then we're continuing to negotiate deals like we just negotiated the Chime deal, where you get a full Chime platform if you're an EXP agent for only $25 a month, and if you're a Chime user, you're paying for it. You're probably paying a lot more for it than that. So we're continuing to work on, what are the different platforms we can bring to agents at a really competitive. Use our buying power to kind of buy down the market, so everything's just cheaper for agents, so they can build their businesses with less friction. So those are the things we're working on. Some of the stuff is just blocking and tackling, mortgage, title, escrow, stuff like that you have to put in place because it's just part of what you do when you scale. But how I'm in a couple of weeks. I'm doing a mastermind with 25 large teams to help them think about what can we do next in the business. So I'm starting to do more masterminding with agency teams and trying to help them just think about scale. But those are some top of mind ideas.
Oh, that's awesome. But what about something like some sort of platform for bringing in additional business or leads for agents? Is that on the table? You know how Gary Keller was like all gun ho about, getting KW Command and we're going to take on Zillow and blah, 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 blah. And then it ended up flopping. But like there's always this mantra of, hey, let's try to become the go-to site to replace what Zillow is doing. Because right now what Zillow does obviously is take your money and sell data to you. Is that something that EXP could like potentially be looking at in the future, where we try to become one of those main websites that everyone goes to search for homes?
Yeah, so there's two ways to think about it. EXP Realty, just like every other brand out there, whether it be Remax or Keller Williams or whatever, Compass. That's the agents are doing just as much to create awareness just by being an agent with EXP and so we don't charge for those leads. Actually, there's a nominal amount if we run it through our ISA department to just make sure that we cover our costs for getting them in the hands of agents. But we bought a company earlier this year called Zoocasa, which was actually basically the Zillow of Canada till about 2015, when Rogers Communication, a big cable company and phone company up there, was forced to actually get rid of Zoocasa because they weren't allowed to run a paper brokerage in Canada. But tons and tons of marketing. We're spending like 12, 13 million a year just marketing Zoocasa for years up there. And they built a really nice platform. So we're actually working on building that out to be a branded, unique lead gen platform that we all own as a company that can keep all that stuff in house and make sure that it's in the EXP family. So right now it's expanding across Canada, and then we're getting ready to actually bring it across the border. And it gets good SEO traffic. It's got a lot of legacy value, especially across Canada. So we're excited about what that might look like over time. But it's a multi-year strategy. I mean, there's when we start to generate meaningful leads on that platform in the U.S. for our agents, it might take us 2 or 3 years, and then we got to figure out how do we cover our costs and do all this stuff, because it's expensive building out a portal. I mean, you just look at Zillow's financials. It's there's a lot of work and money that goes into building that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hey, Glenn, who do I talk to about becoming a preferred vendor for EXP? Because we have the leads on lock.
Leo Perea, our president of affiliate services, he would be the right person. By the way, he used to run the #1 real estate team in Keller in 2012. So he's a really, really good guy, understands the lead side of things and that type of thing. So, and I can, send me a DM on here. I can connect you with Leo, because he's also on Discord, of course.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, I will send that. I would love that connection. GRT.
Yeah, I just had a couple quick questions. I was looking to join EXP commercial side. Once I get my license, I've been in the commercial real estate for a little bit, understand quite a bit. But I know what it looks like previously, you guys offered CoStar at a discount. Is that still being offered, or is that you guys just went straight with Reonomy instead? Or is there any plans to bring back CoStar?
Yeah, we're continuing to be in discussions with CoStar, but CoStar is they're playing, as you know, CoStar plays a pretty aggressive game, and so they they're no longer passing on discounts to us. Obviously, agents can still get co-stars, so it's not like they can't. It's not at the. I don't think it's at the discount that they originally gave us. I think they're seeing us grow. Like I think we're the 11th largest commercial real estate firm now in the country. So we've grown really, really fast, and so I think there's some concern as if we grow too fast. We're pretty innovative. Uh, I'm not sure if CoStar is really excited about seeing what we might innovate our way out of if we get too big.
Got it. Okay, and then last one is this Discord that you guys are starting for EXP. How will it be different than the? I seen you guys offer like a workspace type of thing with Meta, I believe, for like closed in stuff
Yep.
for EXP members only.
Yeah, so it's going to be kind of a combination. So we'll have the closed stuff, but we'll also have the sort of, we'll call it an extranet using the same Discord server, where you'll be able to, even if you're exploring EXP, whether that little EXP word there, explore, but when you're exploring EXP, you can actually come in and learn more and get resources and be connected right to folks in the company without it being a website chat or whatever. You can be sort of part of an external community.
Got it.
Glenn,
Awesome.
if I got to plug my boy Cameron here, because if you're going to build out a server for EXP, international agents, he's been an absolute boon to me with creating the system for how we do our referrals here in the Discord. And that's all a custom automation and role permission hierarchy that he did for us that I think EXP could actually really benefit from. So I got to give him a plug.
Okay, cool. I'll definitely. We've communicated a little bit because Tristan had recommended Cameron, but we haven't engaged too much on it. But I think now that we're getting a little bit clearer on what our longer term strategy, it'd be good to chat with him on how we make all that work.
Dude, I'm
hear my
telling you, yeah, listen, and I'm sorry I'm going to make you feel awkward, Cameron, but I have dragged this guy through everything in the real estate industry and into the NFT world, and he's always like performed excellently for me. So I cannot speak high enough of his work and how he does it. So there you go, Cameron. There's your plug.
Oh, thank you. I had just joined back. I got a phone call.
Nah, you're good. I want to make sure we get to everyone on stage here. I'll mute your mic if you had a question for Glenn. And Glenn, I hope we're not taking too much of your time here. This was kind of unexpected.
I'm getting my walk in while I'm getting while I'm doing this. So I'm doing two things at once, multitasking.
Exercising and networking. I wish my microphone setup was portable. Maybe I would do that. Newsflash, I probably wouldn't do it. So you're a better man than me.
Hey Glenn, what are your feelings on the future for realtors in general? With the potential threats from someone like Amazon entering the market, and a lot of these companies looking to automate so much of the business, and everyone I'm sure in this group feels like the realtor is so valuable they can't be replaced. And I personally feel that way, but you never know where technology and automation is going to take us. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see this still having a strong future ahead, or is this something we should all be looking at?
Well, it's definitely going to morph over time, but I think it's going to morph so slowly that for those who take the business really seriously and are innovative, they'll be able to pivot through pretty much anything that comes their way. When I think about AI, I think about the idea that once we, as individuals, have a sort of, we'll call it an alter ego, an AI that acts on our behalf. I think that's going to be sort of a little bit of the game changer, because if I can work with an AI that I actually almost like a person, know, like, and trust, and it's with me and it's gathering data, and it's learning all of my preferences and all of that type of stuff. Eventually, the AI is going to be able to, generally do things like recommend, whether it's accurate or not, different animal, but it's gonna do some of the recommendation on things I need to do, whether I need to upsize, downsize, look at my finances, get together with friends, family. business, which people should I connect with for business or whatever, because their AIs are already talking to each other. So I think about the whole idea of, how is AI going to ultimately play out, but not from the perspective of the company's AI, even though I think that'll play a role, but more from the consumer's AI. And so that could be pretty disruptive. I mean, think about the, Tesla's semi, it's not really working that well yet, but their self-driving cars is
Right.
pretty good. And it's looking out for obviously the person behind the wheel, and that's the type of AI that I think changes the game. Amazon could get in the space. What they would do is disrupt a lot of eyeballs, but it doesn't mean that agents would be out of work. They would just be, potentially working for Amazon Realty and, a number of others that will exist in the marketplace. And so they could take market share as a company, but as an agent, I think, we're still in the local community building relationships, and I think that trumps technology, because at the end of the day, we don't build relationships with computers. We still build relationships with people, and I think that's the thing that, as long as we as agents continue to do, it's going to be hard to disrupt us.
Well said.
Here. Kyle, John.
I mean, the question I have, and it's something I've been seeing just kind of here and there in the kind of the news, is that big lawsuit that I guess they have against I don't know if it's the National Association of Realtors or whatnot, but the one that kind of not mandates, but allows or kind of causes sellers to be the one that kind of pays the brokerage fee. I think there's some lawsuit going around. It's been going on for like a couple of years now, I think. That, yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about, but just kind of what that might do to the market, and just kind of hear your thoughts on that.
Well, my thoughts on it is that it's a multi-year ordeal with lots of appeals, depending on, no matter which way it goes. There'll be, like, if NAR and the associations and the brokerages that are named, if they win the first round, then the other side's going to appeal it, and then that's going to be a process, and then if it's like this big ping pong match that will ultimately have to get settled, at a pretty high court, and or new laws being written by Congress, and or what have you. So I think it's a long battle, but let's say that if we play out or game out, if it turns out that you can't offer buyer commission through an MLS, that's basically what they're trying to disallow.
Yeah.
Is then the question is what happens to the seller? Like, right now we've got a market that's soft. So if I'm a seller and my house isn't selling, and I go, can't I offer a buyer's agent commission? The answer, and sounds kind of almost self-serving for EXP, because we're being the largest brokerage out there. Commissions can still be offered inside of a brokerage. So you could create an additional incentive for buyer's agents inside of a brokerage platform. So I think it strengthens, whether it's good or bad, because it's good for us, but I'm not sure it's good for the small broker owners, which I'm just as for as anybody. But for them, I think they're going to get hurt the most if that happens. So the small businesses in residential real estate are the ones that will take it on the chin, because they won't have the ability to build a tech stack that's going to serve consumers, because the MLS is their tech stack.
Thank you for the answer.
Don Verano. Are you with us?
I'm just gonna hop in real quick and say, anyone in the audience, we got 35 of you guys down there. Feel free to press the little hand raise button if you guys, got anything to talk about, etc.
Yeah, questions are open, or use Mastermind event chat if you're stage shy. But Glenn, I wanted to ask you, when you started EXP, the jump from real estate agent to manage a brokerage to now managing an international brokerage, what's been like the biggest unexpected struggle?
So one of the challenges, if you're doing something successful, a lot of people want to either take it away from you or try to control it. So that had been my biggest struggle. Right now, I think we're in a good place, but I ended up fighting some pretty tough battles in 2016, 17, 18, even up till 2018, maybe early 2019. So there's about a 4-year stretch there where all the experts were coming out of the woodwork, recognizing what we were building and trying to come in and like be the white knight to save the company because we were going down some bad path, and they were trying to basically sort of throw the board and throw different folks off of it. So that was probably my biggest struggle.
Were these internal forces or external?
A little bit of both. There was internal, there was external, there was big consultants in the industry. There's a lot of folks that really wanted to do things. I think there was a major player in the real estate space who was trying to undermine what we were doing by sort of getting people in our organization to try to wrest control and change the direction of the company. So I think there's a whole bunch of stuff, and now we've passed that because we've grown beyond their ability to sort of control us. But that was a tough thing. I mean, you ever talk to some people who know what I was going through at the time, they can give you some war stories.
Is the unnamed person, does his name rhyme with Larry?
With Larry, did you say?
Yeah. Does his name rhyme with Larry?
No, I'm not sure who you're talking to, so probably not. You're talking about that other well,
Another external force.
Yeah, I'm sure there was some undermining coming from there as well, but I don't think it was as overt. But with that was really just try to say. Oh, I remember the phrase was, "If you go to EXP, God help you." And the company's just a penny stock, barely made $1 million a year, and then all we are is a Donkey Kong and Pac-Man company. So anyway, there was a whole bunch of stuff that
Donkey Kong and Pac-Man company. That's a new one. What is something, and this will be the last question, Glenn. What is something nobody's ever asked you on an interview that you wish they would ask you?
Oh man, good question. I can't think of one. I'll have to go make up a list on that one because I haven't really thought about it.
Benji in the audience looks like he has a question. He's raising his hand, by the way.
I invited you up here, man. You gotta click accept. Yeah, there you go. Click accept. This is Glenn. This is something you're gonna come across in your Discord servers. You're gonna have to onboard people to the platform. Yeah, I took it for granted growing up online with all these different services, how intuitive stuff becomes. But especially if you're onboarding new people. But he's up here. Benji, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
Good, man.
Thanks for doing this. I've been a lurker for a few months now. Actually, when you sent the invite, it went to the screen before the stage, so I couldn't see it. Yeah, so I'm sort of a new agent, except that I have been working my mom's database for it's a Real Geeks website, and so we have a lot of buyer leads coming in. And the main thing that I have a question for is if you had to start again, how would you become like your local expert to start listing and in what might be a saturated market? Like, is that even possible? I mean, obviously you can't get all the market share, but like a little bit would be nice.
Yeah,
Like,
1 to 2% of a market is a large portion of a market. So, in most markets, that's tens, if not hundreds of real estate transactions. So you don't need to own the market. But if you're building it online, you still have to figure out, what is going to be the unique way that you're going to keep your audience or your consumer base connected to you. And a CRM is fine, and Real Geeks makes a great one. I used it for a number of years. I just interviewed a guy who in Vancouver that uses Real Geeks, loves it, just earlier today. But for me, I want to figure out, how do I create a differentiated value prop for the rest of the agents. And that's where you just got to work on figuring out what that is. We talked about earlier, but Discord could be one element of it. But I think that, figuring out a way to build, there's so much stuff that used to be done at the local website level that no longer you don't like. If you were to think about where do you find out about events and activities going on in your neighborhood, like where you physically live, do you go to what's the Eventbrite or the there's that event platform, or do you go to Facebook, or do you go to a newspaper? I mean, so I think what used to be done at local websites, the local events, I think that's totally open place to play again. Like, so if you start to build a events and activities calendar on a website, like nobody has those anymore. And so I think that's like an opportunity at a local level to build something that's connected to your social presence, that's connected to all these other presences, and make sure that have people register, say what they're interested in, and use that as another way to just stay in contact with your database. But I think it's work. I mean, I'll throw out 10 ideas. Probably 9.5 of them won't work, but half of one of them will get you a little bit of traction, and then you'll figure out a way to pivot, and then you'll actually find something that really works. And so you just got to try a lot of things until you find something that works.
Glenn, you must have been shadowing some of our masterminds, because we've been preaching that for months. Lauren Musco, she DM'd me privately. She's like, don't call on me or even mention my name. I have nothing of value to add. But Lauren Musco is our shining light of somebody who's taken being the nexus for events in their market and using that in their marketing to nurture and grow their client list. So it's a great idea. I think it's great. I know Andrew thinks it's great. He just started doing it. So thanks for vindicating us yet again, Glenn.
Yeah, one thing, and I've done this a couple times, and I've coached agents on this, but when I built my personal practice, I called it buyer tours. It started as Bellingham Buyer Tours because I owned buyertours.com as a domain. I still do. But what we did is we actually created a unique value prop that if a client or a consumer requested info on a piece of property, instead of the typical, call them back and try to close for an appointment and then put them on a drip campaign and then just keep on calling them back, which, will work over time. And there's no doubt about it. I actually set an appointment with the seller, took photos of the property, actually sent him an email just saying, hey, I'm going to go take a look at the property that you just requested info on. I'm going to go take some photos. I'll send this to you later today, and then I'll call you back after that. And that became a differentiated value prop because my closing ratio on those leads, which were, at the time, internet leads, only closed at 1.9 to 2.9% of the time. My personal closing percentage was about 20% of all the leads that I took and did that with. They turned into closed transactions. So, so when you think about what is your differentiated value prop, there's a lot of places where you wouldn't think, like, why would I do that? Why would I get in my car or use up my gas and try to do something for somebody I haven't maybe even talked to on the phone yet? But once you do that, all of a sudden they go from really crappy buyers to really quality buyers, because they actually want to work with you, because you're the first person that they've run into that actually does something that's more than just try to call on the phone and try to set an appointment. Obviously, if they're ready to buy and look at a property today, then you go do that. But a lot of times they're just in the looking process and they just want to get some information. And once you've done something big of value for them, they're your client. You now have to do something bad to actually lose them, and they'll abandon anybody else they're talking to if you do something meaningful of value.
It's actually an amazing idea, because we have people that just favorite properties all the time and they don't answer their phone all the time. So, you just take pictures of what the neighborhood that they're looking at, and go to the house, go to the listing, take a video and send it to them, and they'll probably be way more responsive.
Yeah, I'd probably resist on the just people marking favorites until you've at least got permission from them. Just say, hey, I've noticed you're marketing a bunch of favorites. I'm going to be out in the neighborhood. Would you mind if I take some photos and then reach out to you? Like, just do a light touch, just almost, because
Yeah.
And I think that would probably have a little better effect on those who are marking favorites. But if they request info, what I just described, it will literally give you the deal. It's like, if they're going to buy it, they're going to buy the property from you. And only 15-20% of those consumers are actually going to buy a property. But the reality is that since you did that, they're not buying from some random agent, they're buying from you.
So, Glenn, we have a question here from our Mastermind event chat. Abo23 writes, how many people do you expect to retire in the next 2 years? And is there a way to approach taking over their clients without coming on too hard? And I'll tack on my follow-up question. Do real estate agents retire?
Well, I used to make the joke that real estate agents don't retire, they just die, because they just basically, it's the only profession where people actually work and use a walker. It's just,
One hand in the grave and the other signing addendums.
there you go. But there's ways to do it, but the return on to both parties is usually fairly low. I've seen a lot of agents that have tried to turn their databases over to somebody else, but because the relationship wasn't built with that agent, and in most cases that consumer also has relationships with other agents, it's just hard to build a new relationship with the pre-existing database. It's different than insurance, where the insurance policy is sitting with an insurance agent, so you can take over those types of businesses way easier. What I would suggest is how you can do it is if the agent brands as a team that's not in the agent's name, and they brand around a value prop. So it's one of the reasons why we did Buyer Tours Realty, and team is because we were branded around a value prop. Then anybody could have come in and taken over the database, and nobody would have known any different. But when it's branded around an agent and a persona, then it's really tough to transfer that database.
Great point. And I think we're coming up on 8:30. So unless anybody in the audience has any questions, click the little hand raise icon. Otherwise, hell, man, thanks for joining us. Very unexpected.
Hey, my pleasure. No, it's fun learning this Discord with you guys, and thanks for jumping on mine yesterday. So,
I got one final question. You mentioned EXP building out, their Discord server and whatnot. When are we going to start seeing? I just saw on your Instagram it's getting pushed a little bit, but when are we going to start seeing it pushed on a large scale?
We still got to get our staff over. We still got to get all the logistics and all the other stuff, and we got to figure out a way to actually put our agents into particular roles and groups and all the stuff on an automated way. So that's where I think maybe some conversations with the Cameron. We've got a couple other Discord server guys that were actually EXP agents, or not our staff, that they're doing stuff. I'd like to create a advice group on how we should set it up. And Cameron, love to get your help or anybody else that has experience.
Cameron's EXP too, and he's a whiz with data.
I've got several ideas how we can automate the different teams that EXP has, and get everyone in an organized little area on their own little Discord, on the EXP Discord as well.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll add you to the little mastermind group over there. I'll invite you over to the EXP server, and then we'll continue the conversation and see what we can spin up.
Sounds like a plan, Glenn.
Awesome. Well, Glenn,
Thanks, everyone.
thanks so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for joining. I will see you next Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to RSVP at the top of the chat channels. Get those RSVPs in. And yeah, we'll call it there. Thanks for joining, everybody. Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.